Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophia, pilot into the universe of Chinese. Yesterday we talked about 教 or 教, teach. And today the counterpart, 学. And actually Chinese have this 教 and 学. One is output, right? 教 is you show somebody, 学 is you take in. So it's two directions of interaction of human knowledge, right? So there is a certain knowledge transfer in there. And Chinese believe 教学相长. Like if you do teaching and learning at the same time, and they both mutually, it's a positive loop, feedback loop, which is what I'm experiencing right now. I learn about Chinese old way to unpack it so that I can teach. And when I'm teaching, when I'm trying to verbalize what I learned, and that helps me to learn further because I don't want to embarrass myself here and I don't want to waste your time here. And we're really doing this co-exploring thing. Never claim I know enough or everything. Definitely not. I'm just scratching the surface of language. It's it's the best thing I've done so far. That by teaching that I'm really learning. It's both ways, and it's 相长, like mutually. When you go higher, like to become a better teacher, you have to be a better learner, and to be better learner, you need to learn how to teach as well. So that's the dynamics of Chinese dichotomy, right? Chinese recognized from early on. So today is about learning, and you can see simplified Chinese, traditional. They look different now. Traditional and script, this 2,000 years ago dictionary captured rendering looks the same. I mean, it's still further simplified because we have the children imagery, this big-headed, pick-me-up position, one torso, not emphasizing legs because probably that's before their walking stage. So it's not even a toddler. It's a tiny baby, infant, human infant, got further simplified into traditional Chinese. And from traditional Chinese, Chinese simplified version got this whole structure, just simplify them into three dots on the top. And me grew up in the simplified Chinese, like that doesn't make much sense. Like the three dots, what does that mean? Like why that means learning. But if we trace all the way back to script, the meaning is embedded in the imagery. So yesterday when we talked about the 教 teach, we came across this baby image and this network of knowledge, right? And now today we just add two more elements in there. One is where teaching or learning happens. So Chinese don't really have public schools back then. Through millennia, especially after installment of this national exam, that's why I mean Chinese till today are good test takers because they have been trained through generations, through millennials, that the ruling class try to tap into the best brain of their country among the population by having this selective process of national exams. And you only stand out to be the best learned scholars, and then you can be put into their political system to, be the best communicator of, or the information hub, a link on that information hub all the way pointing to try to help decision making or enforcement of the law and order back then, to be part of that cog in the apparatus of the ruling class. So we have three finger hand symbol, 1, 2, 3, reaching from top of the screen, reaching down. So in 教 teach, we have this first person perspective, three finger hand symbol, reaching from the bottom right corner, which shows exactly your right hand. However, if you see the three finger hand symbol reaching from top down of the screen, like the other direction, not bottom up, but top down, that means somebody else's hand. So this is 学, this learning, you can tell this is from the baby's perspective, and this is somebody else's hand versus 教 teach. is bottom right is your hand. This is your first person perspective. You are trying to teach, help the baby to learn versus here, somebody else's hand. So you're the learner, somebody else's hand reaching down to hold you up, I guess, to usher you to the network of knowledge. And I interpret it as either the human knowledge network or the modeling, our best modeling, or our model of the world, that simplified, boiled down to this two axes stack up of each other. And then this big arch thing, that's where we learn that, we were talking about it, that China did not have public school system back then, and only have private school. And the private school system is kind of got popularized ever since the installment of the national exam system. So that's the whole logic there. Okay, so this private school, it's almost like crowdfunding from your community, which are most likely people hold the same last name, right? And then so people come from down the same bloodline, and they have already that mutual trust and probably growing environment. So they're from the same community, and they pool resources to build such a private school, invite teachers and all that, hiring teachers, and get all the next generations from the same bloodline into that private school. So the private school system was the norm back then. And this big arch is this shelter thing, meaning it's a sheltered space separating your not domestic, in this case, is a school environment from the weather. So you are in this safe, sheltered environment. This baby was hand-held down network of knowledge for you to learn in a safe environment. You can practice, you can fail, and some learners before you are handing down this knowledge network, try to inspire you to learn. And I guess in the private school system back then, because it's not public, so the teacher to students ratio was even lower. It's not. I grew up in a Chinese public school because back then was not. It's almost like non-existing for private schools to exist, except for like extra curriculum activities like a dancing or drawing class. But for public school system, the majority, my class teacher to student ratio is 1 to 80. Picture that, 1 to 80. Would take quite some time for teachers to memorize all the students' names, right? It's almost like a college setting, like a big classroom, and the students need to be able to behave pretty well to collectively learn from this one teacher. So that's a pretty high ratio. And every semester we would have this published, or everybody can see the result of the ranking. Peer pressure is on ever since your grade school. That's the learning environment over there. I was one that kind of adapt to that system, you have to, if you want to go anywhere in China, to make something out of yourself in China, you have to be a good student in that dramatic ratio, and to adapt to that learning environment, to be competitive to your peers, to handle pressure like that, to be a good test taker. Even if I remember clearly learning about politics. Even in my young mind, I could tell lots of them doesn't make sense. It's not coherent. It's not logical. And lots of question marks. But you can never poke at the teaching of politics, sometimes history as well. It's all censored, warped knowledge of network from that regime handling down everything to the young minds. So even back then, I could sense that, but still, I take that in. I give them answers. I know teachers would expect me to. So ironically, I don't believe any of that. Maybe some of that. I don't take it at all in. I don't internalize all that, right? But I was able to hold that information and practice enough of the testing to know exactly what answer you want. So that's kind of a teaching, learning process I had. Okay, 教学, just teach and learn two opposite side, but they can be mutually benefit each other. 绝学, I translate it as extreme learning. Well, in the context of today's societal change so fast, lots of craftsman skills were kind of disappearing because we got industrialized and mass produced. So your handcraft something, your cottage economy is kind of busted. So this 绝学 almost speak to that long existing but very quickly dying out, very niche domain of skills, craftsmanship in particular, including probably cooking, but because the Chinese love food so much, so probably cooking still got a marketplace, still can survive, like economically have that cycle, but many other things, handcrafted things, those are dying out. So we call them 绝学. It's like the dead end learning. Lots of them are the last generation of craftsmen of that particular trade. So that's 绝学. It's the dead end. It's the extreme. Even if I translate it as a dream, but it's really the dead end learning, the extincting learn. 国学, nation learn. So 国 is a concept of well, there are a lot of meaning transfer. So 国 is a political term, right? You have a set boundary, and within that, under the same ruling system. That's first layer. But the second layer, 国, is also kind of a Chinese cultural identity thing. So even if, say, I live in America nowadays, and I'm talking about Chinese, and Chinese as a language is part of this nation learn. This is identity as me being Chinese. I first need to know how Chinese operates, which is what I'm doing right now. And then it takes a lot more, like more than just the language. It also includes art, calligraphy, drawing, painting, all the niche knowledge and skill sets, like even playing instruments, ancient times, wearing costumes, ancient times, all kinds of things that ancient Chinese would do thousands of years ago. And we call all that as 国学, like it's a national identity kind of encompassing learning. And of course, when you see nation there is a political will behind the promotion of this Chinese cultural based learning. Even as a learning culture, it's kind of point you all toward the ruling, the ruler's will, so to speak, so that everybody still maintain their customs, like we still celebrate some ancient holidays, have some ancient passed down food, some practice of ancient. So that kind of create this shared identity to preserve the Chineseness in there, so that is easier to govern, right? All right, so that's 学 learn, and this is just visually to show what a happy place to be, right? You are among books and sitting there, but we know it's most likely an Instagrammer who seldom pick up a book just to post there to show us that's about learning. Whoever reads a book these days, right? But I do. And my latest favorite book, I can tell you, is called The Social Conquest of Earth. It's about human evolution through the point of view of what a social animal we are. That's how Homo sapiens edged out Neanderthals, right? So all that is fascinating and it related to human evolution, just like language. It's only a surface. What's preserved in the capsules of language is only a tiny part of what happened thousands of years ago before. So that's something I'm happy to learn. And that's, to me, even if it's not school learning, I'm not getting any degree out of it, but it's the true learning for me because I'm truly curious about what happened before now, before we exist, how we come to here, right? All right, so that's 学. Thank you for your time. See you another day.